Keeper, and welcome back to On Air. Today, we continue our look at politics and its influence on direct selling as we investigate, once again, Amway secretly funding GOP Super PACs. Get used to it. It's going to be a theme throughout the entire year. We're going to be investigating all aspects of politics and its influence on direct selling. Also today, we look at direct selling media. Where were they during 2011? Two of the major, biggest stories throughout the year happens to be politics and those people in direct selling, those company owners who are influencing politics here in the United States in a major way. Also, Avon CEO Andrea Jung stepping down or being ousted, not reported in direct selling, except in part by Direct Selling News, who only told half, and that's being generous, half the story. We'll be right back.
No family can survive on 2 incomes anymore, let alone 1. If you are supplementing your family's income working from home, then tune into The Cash Flow Show, Direct Sales Radio. Host Deb Bixler brings you sales tips, lead generation systems, and best business practices that guarantee direct sales success. Whether you're looking for a little extra cash or a career change, The Cash Flow Show, Direct Sales Radio will give you proven systems that will work in your home business. The Cash Flow Show, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time on World Talk Radio Variety.
Welcome back to On Air. Politics, politics, politics. That's the name of the game everywhere, especially here in direct selling as each day passes. Politics and its influence on our community, on our industry, is just getting deeper and deeper and going wider and wider. No more can we stick our head in the sand and think that issues outside of direct selling don't impact us, particularly in business. It has a tremendous impact. As we look over at Amway and we notice that the DeVos family is so heavily invested in the Republican presidential race and just Republican politics, and I would say also just in politics in general, what that says is that the powers that be here in direct selling, Amway being the second largest company, is really trying to influence policy here in the United States well beyond our community. Some of the things that we have been finding out is just some of the people that they've been hanging out with, particularly Dick DeVos and Besty DeVos and some of the others over at Amway. We're going to play some videos for you just so you can get a sense of what's going on. What I find interesting about a couple of these, particularly the speech that Dick DeVos had at the Heritage Foundation, is that he's advocating doing this in stealth, creating a secret way of going about getting power or coalescing power, political power here in the United States. Whatever his political views are, I'm absolutely okay with it, but I'm really shocked that he would actually advocate doing things in secret. It just seems to go against what we talk about here in direct selling: leadership, integrity, being forthcoming, being open. But I got to tell you, when you're such a billionaire such as he is, having over $5 billion, you can do just about anything you want. And you can speak on one side of your mouth and then say something out of the other. Politics, it's a major, major impact, will have a major, major impact in what we do and how we do our business. Take a look at some of these, and we'll come back to this in a few seconds.
Where is the battle going to be fought for the future? In my view, it will be, and at this point it needs to be fought at the state level, utilizing vehicles such as GLEP and others nationally, but ideally these organizations must be constructed locally. They need to be constructed with individuals such as the staff we had in Michigan, who were intelligent and connected with the local grassroots politics of what was going on, that had the relationships, the insights, and the political sensitivity to know what was happening. And so while those of us on a national level can give support, we need to encourage the development of these organizations on a state-by-state basis in order to be able to offer a political consequence for opposition and political reward for support of education reform issues. That has got to be the battle. It will not be as visible. And in fact, to the extent that we, on the right, those of us on the conservative side of the aisle, appropriate education choice as our idea, we need to be a little bit cautious about doing that, because we have here an issue that cuts in a very interesting way across our community and can cut, properly communicated, properly constructed, can cut across a lot of historic boundaries, be they partisan, ethnic, or otherwise. And so we've got a wonderful issue that can work for Americans, but to the extent that it is appropriated or by and viewed as only a conservative idea, it will risk not getting a clear and a fair hearing in the court of public opinion. So we do need to be cautious about that. We need to be cautious about talking too much about these activities. Many of the activities and the political work that needs to go on will go on at the grassroots. It will go on quietly, and it will go on in the form that politics is done, one person at a time speaking to another person in privacy. And so these issues will not be maybe as visible or as noteworthy, but they will set a framework within states for the possibility of action on education reform.
Koch brothers do a retreat twice a year. They gather an enormous amount of millionaires into one place and plot on how they can reduce taxes and how they can make sure that they could pollute more and get the government to do all the things that they want them to do. Now, they want to make sure that it is very, very secret, because they don't want people to know that they're buying our democracy and who, in fact, is buying it. In fact, there's at least 32 millionaires that attend these, and they had a recent one in Colorado in June. And they had all these precautions. They had a lot of bodyguards protecting the conference room that they were in. In fact, they put out speakers to put static by the doors so nobody could listen into what they were saying. Here's the problem. Turns out someone inside the room was recording it. Oops. So, as they promised them privacy, and they said, don't worry, nobody will ever find out. You guys are the ones funding this. We now have the names of all 32 millionaires giving $1 million to make sure Democrats lose and that we get more tax cuts for the rich. Some of them, by the way, are Paul Singer, Ken Griffin, Rich DeVos, John Childs. These are all billionaires who want to apparently keep as much of their money as possible without sharing it with anybody, right? So now Charles Koch is actually on tape, and you can hear him for yourself. Let's listen to the first one.
But we've been talking about, we have, as Saddam Hussein, this is the mother of all wars we've got over the next 18 months, for the life or death of this country. So I'm not going to do this to put any pressure on anyone here, mind you. This is not pressure. That if this makes your heart feel glad and you want to be more forthcoming, then so be it.
I love this fundraising among billionaires. They're like, no pressure, but look, if you want lower taxes and make even more money, just donate to us. It'll make your heart feel better. No, it'll make your wallet feel better, okay? It won't make your heart feel good at all. That's why you're keeping it super secret, because you don't want anybody finding out you're the ones buying our politicians. And did you hear what he said in the beginning? He's compared to the mother of all battles, 2012. Basically, a Saddam Hussein reference. That's what Saddam said. And, of course, the spokesperson coming out today saying, we didn't mean it like that. We weren't comparing Obama to Hussein. I don't even care about that. I don't know if they meant it that way. It's just a thing that people say. What I care a lot more is them buying our democracy. Now, second part of the tape.
What I want to do is recognize not all of our great partners, but those partners who have given more than $1 billion, billion. Obama and his $1 billion campaign, so I thought, what we got to manage. Glad you can't run on these deals.
This is so funny. Do you want to give $1 billion to destroy our democracy, or only $1 million? Everything must be so funny to billionaires. How did you come in under your private jet? Oh, this guy flew in first class. What a joke. You can't even give $1 million to make sure that we buy all the politicians. It must be great in there. They're having a hoot here. And then there are other parts of this. By the way, Brad Friedman broke this story on Brad Blog and on Mother Jones. He's the one that got the tape of these recordings that was happening inside. Another guy came to speak, Kevin Gentry. He is a Koch Industries executive. In fact, he is at the firm's D.C. lobbying office. But here's my favorite part of this. He's also the guy in charge of their charitable giving. They don't do any real charity. What they do is their charitable giving is all the political donations they make to buy our politicians so they can make even more money, okay? So that's their idea of charitable donations. But Kevin Gentry goes up and talks about how Americans for Prosperity helped to get Republicans elected. And he says over and over again, we did Get Out the Vote with the Tea Party, financed by Americans for Prosperity. What happened? I thought that the Tea Party was totally independent and was a grassroots organization. So there's Gentry admitting on another part of the tape, not really. We bought the whole Tea Party. We're the ones who sent in the buses. Exactly like we've been telling you. Do you know that Americans for Prosperity, that grassroots Tea Party group, actually spent $45 million trying to make sure Republicans got elected in 2010, let alone the millions of dollars they spent on those buses and all those efforts to organize those rallies against Obama's health care, et cetera, because the grassroots were so against it. No, it's these millionaires and billionaires that are laughing at you behind your back while they go and buy our politicians and buy our entire political system. That's what's really happening.
Now that we're back, let's be clear here. Everyone has their own political views. I have absolutely no problem with that. Whether I agree with you or not, that's not the issue. What I want us to begin to realize is that we here in direct selling, the distributors have just as much power as the company owners. But the only way that we can actually show up with that power is if we raise our voices. As political action committees, particularly super PACs, really start to take over and control our political leaders and our political outcomes, the voices of average people, particularly just the average distributors, are going to be crushed more and more and more. I think it's incumbent upon us, I think it's absolutely a responsibility for those distributors in direct selling to speak up and speak out loudly that we have a voice. We cannot let, even if it's our company owners, we cannot let them control political outcomes. We cannot let them dictate political outcomes. We're going to continue more on this story as the year progresses. A lot of you already know Direct Selling Live launched its Direct Selling Live Politics last week. It's a major upgrade. We're really going to start to step into this arena of politics. We have some of the top political bloggers from the community of direct selling blogging and sharing stories with us and with you right now. Look at Direct Selling Live Politics. You'll be able to engage. You'll be able to leave comments. You'll be able to just express whatever it is you want to express. We are looking for a couple of more political bloggers. We're looking for a Tea Party blogger. We're looking for an Occupy blogger. We're looking for a mainstream Republican and a mainstream Democrat. We do have the Libertarian. We do have our Independent. And we may have our Tea Party. We're not sure. But we also have our Liberal Progressive. When I come back, we're going to talk about major direct selling media, talking about Direct Selling News and Network Marketing Business Journal. Where are they with these major stories? We'll be right back.
When my mother used to sell Princess House.
Joined Amway that night.
Norma siempre vendía cosas de Avon.
Oh, it must have been around 1935.
But those knives were amazing.
The one lady's name was Mary Kay, and I said, oh, cosmetics will never sell on Party Plan.
Was a single mom and created these hair care products for black women and became the first self-made millionaire in the United States. I just think that's extraordinary.
In 2011, we really started to see some major things start to reshape direct selling. Two major stories in particular. One had to do with the political side, which has to do with Amway and some of the things that Donald Trump is doing, what makes it such a big story, even though it's Donald Trump, is that he actually owns a direct selling company, so it's news. It impacts us. We've already talked about the impact of the DeVos family on the Republican Party and just on national politics here in the United States. But one of the things that's absolutely shocking to me is the news that is not being covered by our major media, specifically talking about Direct Selling News and Network Marketing Business Journal. Last May, Avon came under intense scrutiny for an international bribery scandal. In 2011, in November of 2011, we here at OnAir reported on the story. We also talked about Andrea Jung, CEO and chairman of Avon, being ousted in December. But if you look back at all the magazine issues from Direct Selling News and Network Marketing Business Journal, there's absolutely no mention of it. One of the things that we found from people who have been watching the show is they've been thanking me for reporting news, for talking about real stories and not just the pie in the sky and the great things. But I'm just really, really shocked. Just recently on Network Marketing Business Journal, Keith Lagos will talk about politics, and I think he's going to begin to ramp it up just like he did in 2008. But Direct Selling News, they don't talk about anything. And I'm surprised because the Andrea Jung story, the Avon story, was a major story. Direct Selling News just launched a new website, and in their new website, they actually have a little bit on the Andrea Jung story. It could very well be because we have just been hammering them, challenging them to tell real stories. The problem with their story is they talk about Avon looking for a new CEO. They mentioned nothing about the bribery scandal. They mentioned absolutely nothing about Avon stock dropping 45% in 2011. They make absolutely no mention that Andrea Jung was, for all intents and purposes, she was forced out. She was ousted from her CEO spot. If we cannot depend on our media in direct selling news, who actually, they cater to executives as if the executives don't already know what's going on, if we can't depend on them to tell the story, and what part of the story they do tell, if they leave out the major aspects of it, and certainly with Network Marketing Business Journal, they've never really told news, even though they are a major media source, then who do we depend on? Our media here in direct selling, they have to take responsibility. But I think the problem is they are so fearful of losing their contracts for speaking engagements, for creating tools, for having getting articles or exclusive interviews, that they are more concerned with protecting that than being right and telling the story. It's a sad state of affairs when that's what happens with our major media here in direct selling. Which certainly opens up quite a bit of space for OnAir and DirectSellingLive to step into, which we're going to be stepping into more and more and more. We need to have that one voice, that lone voice, who will actually tell the whole story regardless of whether or not it's flattering or not. We don't have any ties to any media. We don't have any ties to any company. We don't have any ties to any association. Direct Selling News does. They are directly tied to the Direct Selling Association. So if they happen to say something that's out of step with the Direct Selling Association, you can believe that hammer is going to come down hard on them, and it has in the past. So they are compromised. Network Marketing Business Journal, they're a network marketing company, so they are compromised. I like reading both of these magazines. I get them every month. But man, I wish they would tell the whole story, if they tell the story at all.
When my mother used to sell Princess House.
Joined Amway that night.
Norma siempre vendía cosas de Avon.
Oh, it must have been around 1935.
But those knives were amazing.
The one lady's name was Mary Kay, and I said, oh, cosmetics will never sell on party plan.
Was a single mom and created these hair care products for black women and became the first self-made millionaire in the United States. I just think that's extraordinary.
There are a couple of topics that you just don't talk about in direct selling. I think everyone pretty much agrees with that. I, for one, am not. And so when I say pretty much everyone, I'm not with that everyone. I think every topic is open for debate, should be explored, should be talked about. Even politics, religion, sexual orientation, gender bias or inequality that takes place here in direct selling, particularly in direct selling boardrooms, which will be another special report on Direct Selling Live next month as we look at the inequality of women in the boardroom. 85% of all distributors on the field, and yet very few women are in the boardroom. In fact, we just had Janine Avila here last week on OnAir talking about it. The other thing that we don't talk about is race. I've been involved in direct selling for 16 years, and it is mind-boggling to me that the race issue, which is a big one here in direct selling, is never talked about. Media in direct selling, what they're portraying and how that impacts not only distributors and who they go after, but also how companies position their tools, how they position themselves in the marketplace. It's a big deal. It's one that really needs to be explored. And this isn't anything new. It's been talked about for quite some time. But we always seem to come back to, if you want certain ethnic groups to be better represented in direct selling, certainly here in the United States, you need to give the face. You need to give the voice so that can happen.